Run, base!
Stand at rest. Friends and fellow citizens, I come before you from beyond the veil of heaven. I can remain with you for no more than a brief period. I rise from this retirement in which I have experienced inestimable joy, but I come with reluctance, out of a sense of necessity and urgency. I am drawn by my ardent love for my country, which neither death nor eternity can extinguish. Throughout my mortal probation, no voice did I hear with greater clarity than the voice of my country in need. And in no instance, when my country called me, did I decline to rise and serve, even when enfeebled by age and disability, and even when my overwhelming inclination was to withdraw from public service, as a wearied traveler must do, to take leave from the great theater of action and the employments of public life. And so, I rise again, called to duty by your prayers for relief and your pleas for the country to be saved. I have heard your appeals. I have entreated with my Father in heaven, that almighty being who rules over the universe, who presides in the councils of heaven, and whose providential aids can supply every human defect. I have entreated him to allow my earthly condescension for but a moment, doing so for one solemn and critical purpose: to rekindle the sacred fire of liberty. I tender homage to that great author of every public and private good for this opportunity to appear before you just one last time. A solicitude for your welfare and the apprehension of danger natural to that solicitude urge me on this occasion to offer to your solemn contemplation sentiments which are the result of much reflection on usurpations of power that have replaced the limited republic we entrusted to your care. Replaced it with an unlimited government more akin to that absolute monarchy of tyrannical rule that robbed us of our liberties before the Revolution. I beseech you to remember that character of government we entrusted to you at the dawn of our experiment in republican government. The foundation of our empire was not laid in the gloomy age of ignorance and superstition, but at an epocha when the rights of mankind were better understood and more clearly defined than at any former period. At that auspicious period, the United States came into existence as a nation. When we consider the magnitude of the prize we contended for in the Revolution, the doubtful outcome of that contest, and the favorable manner in which it was terminated, we were right then to see that the battle for liberty was not only a just cause, but a divine cause, affected by the hand of providence. The citizens of America were then placed in the most enviable condition as their own sole lords and masters, invested with plenipotentiary control over their lives, their own liberties, and their own properties, save for the unjust invasion of the equal rights of others. As liberty was the word on every patriot's tongue during the Revolution, liberty was the patriotic purpose of our written Constitution, to be preserved by the restraints contained in that great charter. We knew then our experiment in Republican government would be tested, but we trusted in the citizens of America to stand as a bulwark of liberty and guard against change by usurpation of power. Freedom could only remain ours so long as we would defend it against the designs of ambitious governors. We then commenced the time of our political probation to determine whether we would keep well lit the sacred fire of liberty and so ensure a respectable, prosperous, and free country, or whether we would violate that trust and devolve in disrepute, contempt, misery, and servitude. Then, as now, the eyes of the world and of the divine author of creation were upon us. That sovereignty, which of right remains in the citizens of America, has been removed over time by repeated expansions of the national government beyond the limits of the Constitution. Usurpation by usurpation by usurpation. What was once your prerogative as a free people became the prerogative of government, depriving you of control over your own destiny and presuming to dictate by force of law the course of commerce and who amongst you may win and who amongst you must lose in the affairs of the market. In the present crisis, silence in me would be a crime. I therefore speak to you, to that love of liberty still within your breasts and which reverberates with each beat of your hearts, to return our government to its constitutional limits and demand restoration of legal protection for your rights and your liberties. These are the pillars on which the glorious fabric of our independency and national character must be supported. Liberty is the basis, and whoever would dare to sap the foundation or overturn the structure under whatever specious pretext he may attempt it, well, he will merit the bitterest execration and the severest punishment which can be inflicted by his injured country. I consider it my duty, and that of every patriot, to insist that no unelected agency of the government continue to make law governing industry and improvement, contrary to the Constitution's exclusive vesting of that power in the Congress of the United States. I consider it my duty, and that of every patriot, to insist that no president of the United States presume to amend the laws of the land without the assent of Congress or to refuse compliance with the laws enacted by Congress. I consider it my duty, and that of every patriot, to insist that no citizen be compelled to appear before an agency court to answer for charges from that agency and to be judged by that agency. Rather, the Constitution we entrusted to you guarded your right to an impartial judge in a civil court with due process and a trial by a jury of your peers. Those actions, combined with an ever-tightening noose of public debt around the neck of our country, threaten every hostility to liberty, to independence, and to civil society. I urge you to restore that form of government so free and uncorrupted as to serve as a happy guardian against all oppression. Let us resolve together from this moment forward to unite upon these principles and restore the character and charter of liberty that made the United States of America the envy of the world, the greatest enemy of tyranny, and the greatest friend of liberty. When I last withdrew from public service at the end of my presidency, 1796, I could remark without hesitation that interwoven, as is the love of liberty, with every ligament of your hearts, no recommendation of mine was necessary to fortify or confirm the attachment. The same I cannot remark without hesitation today. Although I do not doubt your love of liberty, I warn that the same love is no longer interwoven with every ligament amongst those who now govern you. Take charge. Replace them with true friends of liberty. The support of your tranquility at home, your peace abroad, your safety, your prosperity, and of that liberty which you so highly prize, depends incontrovertibly on what you now do to restore the Republic and return your government to its constitutional limits. The Constitution, as written, as originally understood, is the main pillar in the edifice of your real independence, the political fortress against which the batteries of internal and external enemies of liberty will always be directed, and the palladium of your political safety and prosperity. Restore it to supremacy. Watch for its preservation with jealous anxiety, with ever a suspicion upon designing men and measures. Toward the preservation of your freedom and the permanency of your happiness, it is requisite not only that you steadily discountenance irregular oppositions to the Constitution's authority, but also that you resist with care the spirit of innovation upon the Constitution's principles. One method of assault may be to effect in the forms of the Constitution alterations which will impair the energy of the system and thus to undermine what cannot be overthrown. In all the changes to which you may be invited, remember that time and habit are at least as necessary to fix the true character of governments as of other human institutions. That experience is the surest standard by which to test the real tendency of the existing constitution of our country. Liberty finds in a government respectful of our Constitution's limits on power its surest guardian. A free government is, indeed, little else than a name, where its officers refuse to abide by the rule of law, by the limits so prescribed by our Constitution of liberty, and by preservation and the secure and tranquil enjoyment of the rights of life, liberty, and property. In a free country, habits of thinking must be maintained that inspire caution in those entrusted with government administration to confine to within their respective constitutional spheres, avoiding exercise of powers whereby one department encroaches on another. The spirit of encroachment tends to consolidate the powers of all departments in one, and thus to create, whatever the form of government, a real despotism. A just estimate of that love of power and proneness to abuse it, which predominates in the human heart, is sufficient to satisfy us in the truth of this position. The necessity of reciprocal checks on the exercise of political power by dividing and distributing it into different depositories and constituting each the guardian of the public weal against invasions by the others has been evinced by experiments, ancient and modern, to be the greatest protection for the people's liberties. Indeed, the combination of legislative, executive, and judicial powers, or any two of them in single hands, it is the very definition of tyranny. If, in the opinion of the people, the distribution or modification of the constitutional powers be in any particular wrong, let it be corrected by an amendment in the way which the Constitution so designates. But let there be no change by usurpation. For though this, in one instance, may be an instrument of good, it is the customary weapon by which our Constitution and the limited government it creates are destroyed. I must take my leave, called by my Father in heaven, not to toil further, but to make haste in restoring the balance of heaven, there being but one mortal probation allowed for each life. As I part, I leave you with an abiding assurance that regardless of what immediate fate may come or who may deprive our country of its constitution of liberty or deny the citizens of America their sovereignty, the sacred fire of liberty shall ever burn within them, and it shall ignite in the hearts of every true patriot the courage, insight, and resolution needed to upend the evil and restore the Republic. Your liberty and your happiness shall remain for all eternity the object of my heart and the happy reward of my earthly labors. I now part, but pray that whatever spirit of liberty I have conveyed shall long abide amongst you and among your posterity. May the Lord bless and keep you. and may divine providence save these United States of America. I remain your humble and obedient servant.